All right, guys, good morning. I hope you guys are doing good. This is going to be our first recorded lesson. Please follow along. I would like you to have a sheet of paper so you guys can take notes while I go through this lesson. And if you are having issues, just rewatch the lesson, and I'm pretty sure you'll be okay doing that and then completing the assignment after that. Okay, so today's lesson, we're talking about the word ratios, and today's objective is I can gain an understanding of the term ratio. Okay, so our keyword here is ratio. Um, Ratio means there is a relationship between two or more values. Okay, so we are comparing two different things. So, for example, say I have a team of basketball players, and there's 5 players on this team. Okay, 3 of them are boys and 2 of them are girls. Okay, so the ratio of boys to girls on this team would be 3 to 1, or 3 to 2. Okay, and we can write ratios in 2 different ways. We can write them using a semicolon or a colon and the word to. Okay, so what this is telling us is that for on this specific basketball team, for every 3 boys you have, there's got to be 2 girls. Okay, and that's how we're comparing 2 different values. Okay, the values that we're comparing in this case is the number of boys to the number of girls on this specific basketball team. Okay, so example 1, I want you guys to draw this this table on your sheets of paper. Okay, so pause the video and take some time to draw this. Okay, you should have paused your video. Okay, so I'm going to read through this. You should have drawn this little table at the bottom. So example 1 tells us the co-ed soccer team has 4 times as many boys on it as it has girls. We say the ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls on the team is 4 to 1. We read that as 4 to 1. Okay, so the ratio we're dealing with is 4 to 1. This is telling us that for every 4 boys, there is 1 girl. So on the table, I'm going to write 1 under number of girls because we know the ratio is 4 to 1. And the total number of players is 5. Okay? 5 players isn't enough for a soccer team. You need 11 to put on the field, and you probably should need some subs as well. Okay, so let's move on. Is this big enough for a team? No, we just discussed that. What are some other ratios that show 4 times as many boys as girls, or a ratio of boys to girls of 4 to 1? Okay, so now I want you to extend your table that you just made and make these rows. Okay, make it longer and add more rows. Okay, you can pause your video real quick. All right, you should have extended your rows. Now, this ratio 4 to 1 is telling us for every 4 boys, there's 1 girl. Okay, so now let's count up by 4s then. Now, if there are 8 boys, there's got to be 2 girls. Okay, and the total number is 10. Okay, now let's count up by 4 again for the number of boys. If we have 12 boys, we have to have 3 girls. And the total number of players is 15. And if we have 16 boys, we need 4 girls, and the total number is 20. Okay? So all of these are equivalent because this is all telling us for every 4 boys, there's 1 girl. So the ratio 4 to 1 has the same value as 8 to 2, 12 to 3, and 16 to 4. Okay? Because they all describe for every 4 boys, there is 1 girl. Okay? And looking at this table that we made, do you guys see anything? Do you guys see any patterns? Okay? Number of boys, we started counting up by 4s. A number of girls, we counted up by 1s. And even the total players column, we count it up by 5s. Okay, so when you're making a table, every time that you create a table, you should see a pattern in each row. If you don't, or if you see something off in your pattern, then you probably did something wrong. All right, let's move on. Okay, so now it's telling us, suppose the ratio of number of boys to the number of girls on the team is 3 to 2. Okay, 3 to 2. Okay, I want you to create this table on a sheet of paper, okay, and try to complete it on your own. Pause the video and complete this table on your own real quick. Okay, you should have paused the video. I hope you were able to understand how to complete the table. If not, we'll go over this together. Okay, so this is telling us that for every 3 boys, there are 2 girls, and the total number of players is 5. So let's just count up by 3s in the row of boys. So for every 6 boys, I need 4 girls, and the total number is 10. Now let's count up by 3s again. For every 9 boys, there's going to be 6 girls and 15 total players. And let's do it one more time just in case. For every 12 boys, there's going to be 8 girls, and we are going to have 20 total players. So looking at this, are there patterns in each of our rows? You should have said yes, because there is. In the row of boys, we're counting up by 3s. In the row of girls, we're counting up by 2s. And the total number of players, we are counting up by 5. Okay? So let's move on. Sometimes on some specific questions, they're going to ask you to show a ratio using tape diagrams. You should have done tape diagrams last year, okay? So it shouldn't be a new concept for you. Our ratio was 3 to 2. So here, for boys to girls, here they created this tape diagram showing 3 boys to 2 girls. Okay, look what happens when I cut each of the sections in half though, okay? Now, what does this turn into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 4. 6 to 4. And 3 to 2 is equivalent to 6 to 4 because it is in our table. Okay? And if we cut those in half again, we would get 12 to 8. Okay? Because we're cutting 6 parts in half and 4 parts in half, which would give us 12 to 8. Okay? And those are also equivalent ratios. All right, as we move on through these lessons, we're going to start learning more and doing more with equivalent ratios, but this is just an introduction to ratios, so we won't worry so much about that. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So this says write the ratio of number of boys to the number of girls in our class. Let's just say, since you guys aren't in class, let's just say the ratio of boys to girls is 8 to 6. Okay? So the ratio of boys to girls is 8 to 6. All right, some important facts to know. It is okay to use either the colon symbol, like we've discussed, or the word to between the 2 numbers of the ratio. The ratio itself does not have units or descriptive words attached. So we don't use descriptive words when we're writing a ratio. Okay? We do not need these words when we're writing a ratio. We would just write it 3 to 2. Okay? Remember, there are 2 ways to write a ratio, with the colon symbol or the word to. So on some questions on your assignments, if it's asking you for 2 different ways or a different form to write that specific ratio, if you wrote it like this the first time, write it with the word to the second time. Okay? So, going back to when we talked about the ratio of boys to numbers of girls in our class, 8 to 6. Okay? Now it's asking us, write the ratio of the number of girls to the number of boys in our class. Okay? Now it's asking for a different order. when you guys are reading something, when you're reading a question, you need to be very careful because order matters when we're talking about ratios. Okay? If we write the ratio of girls to boys, it would be 6 to 8. Okay? We can't write 8 to 6 like we did in the previous slide because this is boys to girls and this is girls to boys. Okay? So if I ask for girls to boys and you give me 8 to 6, that is wrong because that doesn't show the relationship I'm asking for. Okay, so order matters. So you need to read these questions very carefully and realize what they're asking you. Okay? Let's move on. So record a ratio for each of the examples the teachers provide. Okay, so we'll just go through this together. If there is a baseball team, there are 7 pitchers and 15 regular players. I want to know the ratio of pitchers to regular players. So the ratio would be 7 to 15. Okay? Now I want to know the ratio of regular players to pitchers. And that would be 15 to 7. Okay? We have a class and there are 15 girls and 16 boys. I want to know the ratio of boys to girls. Okay? So that would be 16 to 15. Okay? And now I want to know the ratio of girls to boys. And that would be 15 to 16. Okay, lastly, there are 7 days in the week. 2 of them are weekend days and 5 are weekdays. Okay? So I want to know the ratio between weekend days to weekdays. This would be 2 to 5. Okay? And weekdays to weekend days would be 5 to 2. All right? So what this is trying to show us, it's very important that you're writing the ratios in the correct order. All right? So real quick, I want you to come up with your own description. I want you to come up with your own ratio comparing 2 things. Look around your house, compare 2 things like doors to chairs or cabinets to fridges, just anything that you can compare. I'm going to give you a couple minutes, so pause your video and do that. All right, so you should have paused your video and you should have came up with your own comparison of 2 values. Okay, some of you could have said chairs to tables, okay, in your house. Okay, say and the ratio of chairs to tables is 6 to 1. So for every 6 chairs, there is 1 table. Okay, it's probably a big dining table, and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, you guys could have had a lot of different comparisons, so it's good to be specific and make sure that your ratios are correct and in the correct order that you're comparing them. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So it says, using words, describe a ratio that represents each ratio below. So in our assignment today, you are going to need to come up with your own descriptions of a ratio. Okay, so looking at letter A, 1 to 12. Okay, a good one for this, for 1 to 12 would be for every 1 year, there are 12 months. Okay, now 12 to 1 would be for every 12 months, there is 1 year. Okay, 2 to 5, like we talked about earlier, 2 weekend days for every 5 weekdays. And 5 to 2 is just 5 weekend days and 5 weekdays, sorry. Let me just 5 weekdays to 2 weekend days. All right. And then now let's look at 10 to 2. Okay, a very good one for this is for every 10 fingers, you have 2 hands. And then the next one, 2 to 10, for every 2 hands, you have 10 fingers. Okay? So looking at these examples, we see that the ratios just flip. Okay? That's why it's very important. It's very important to have your ratios in the correct order. Okay? Because comparing fingers to hands is very different than comparing hands to fingers. Okay? So if you're asked to tell me the ratio of hands to fingers and you give me 10 to 2, you're wrong, because that 10 to 2 is the ratio between fingers to hands, not hands to fingers. Okay, so order is very important, so be careful. All right, guys, lesson summary is a ratio is an ordered pair of numbers which are not both 0. Okay, a ratio is denoted A to B to indicate the order of the numbers. Okay, A to B is just telling us that A goes first, B goes second. Okay, the order of the numbers is important. Okay, we've been discussing that a lot. To the meaning of the ratio, switching the numbers changes the relationship. The key word here is relationship, guys. A ratio is just a relationship, showing the relationship between two different values. And the description of a ratio relationship tells us the correct order for the numbers in the ratio. So when you write descriptions for a ratio, make sure you're talking about them in the correct order. Okay? So I'm going to attach this problem set to you guys on Google Classrooms. Okay? And I just want to discuss it a little bit. So letter 1 has 4 parts. Okay? I don't want you to just circle this like it's a multiple choice, because it's not. You need to read the data at the top. At the 6th grade school dance, there are 132 boys, 89 girls, and 14 adults. Okay, letter A is a question. Write the ratio of number of boys to the number of girls. Letter B is a question. Write the same ratio using another form. That's just telling us to use a colon or the word to. Okay. Letter C is write the ratio of the number of boys to the number of adults. And then D is just asking you to write it in another form. Okay. In the cafeteria, 100 milk cartons were put out for breakfast. At the end of breakfast, 27 remained. Okay, so answer letters A and B. Okay, these are not multiple choice questions. Okay, and letter 3 gives you an example here. Okay, all you're doing is writing a description, your own description for those 3 ratios. Okay, guys, good luck. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day.